Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live, talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynn at pghcitypaper.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
Hello there, March 16th. It is 2021. It's a Tuesday, and I'm hoping Susan's on the other end. Hello. Jeez. Hello. Dang it. All right. Susan?
Yeah, sorry. I just looked at the thing and it said 9 o'clock. I said, wait a minute, it was 8:46.
All right. This is getting old.
I'm sorry. I was reading a really interesting article.
Okay, that's always the case, but yeah. One cannot be late in broadcasting. Now,
I got it, but you were on time.
Well, that's true, but all right.
I was just a minute late. It was 1 minute.
Well, did you ever see like Walter Cronkite running onto the set at 2 minutes after 6?
No.
No, it just isn't done.
He makes more money than I do.
He's dead. What do you mean he makes more money?
Well, he made more money than I did.
I would imagine, but geez, he didn't make what they make now. Okay, so excuse me. I'm sorry. I don't know where that comes from.
Me. You caught it from me.
Yeah,
Yeah, let's do it together. I got to clear my throat too.
Okay, 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
How do you sound now? No better.
I think I sound better. I sound better.
Okay. Well, then yours worked better. Okay.
Yeah.
Never mind. Enough of this. I want to. Right. Well, before we start, because I actually have sort of a heavy subject I want to get into. It is a heavy subject, but I came upon this that I somehow had missed my scrutiny of various publications, and I so love it. So. You know who moved into the office in the White House that was Stephen Miller's, the horrible,
No, who?
despicable, okay, the horrible Stephen Miller's office. Well,
the Jewish guy that we don't want anyone to know is Jewish. Go ahead.
Yeah, right. Susan Rice, who is heading the Domestic Policy Council. And when she was told it was Stephen Miller's office, she immediately started burning sage.
I think I would have too. Good for her. I would have called in every shaman and rabbi priest. Yeah, I would have.
Yeah. So that's what she's been doing. I mean, normally I don't go with that stuff, but man, I burn sage too. It's a Native American remedy to cleanse bad energy.
Evil spirits.
God, Lord. Okay, so there was that. Now, the news lately has been prompting screams from me, and it all fits into one heading, and it's all I'm not going to say cancel culture.
I knew you were going here. Okay,
I'm going to say I'm going to make a new definition of the phrase trigger happy, because I think we live in a trigger happy culture now, in which way too many people react very quickly to information and or experience, and
totally no nuance. I've been talking about this too.
Yes, no nuance. Everything in this world that the culture seems to be in is black and white, good or bad, and it's obviously in that respect absurd right there, because life is filled with, right, I believe you said nuance.
Yeah.
But this overly sensitive culture, which is, by the way, pushed by media because they love these kinds of stories, because these are, great takedown stories, the mighty fall,
remember how we were all worshiping at Cuomo's altar a mere 10 months ago, and now he's a snake. Get him out of there. Yeah.
The fact of the matter is, the guy who was doing
is a snake.
Well, no, he is a snake, but he's the same person who was handling the job.
No, he's exactly the same snake who did that job well. That's right. Seemingly.
Okay. So there's that. There's this doesn't quite rise to the level, but it's the same kind of thing, where a show I have never watched called The Talk.
Oh, The Talk, right. I haven't watched that one either, but yes.
This is one of those...
mostly because I don't go to Sharon Osbourne for advice, I don't know.
Okay, but you wouldn't go to any... this is where these groups... This is for women's broadcasting in the day. And what is that other one with...
The View. The Talk is a ripoff of the highly successful The View.
Right. So, but it's the same kind of thing, as I understand.
It's four women sitting around representing theoretically every idea and thought pattern anybody could possibly have, so that we are all represented and talking.
Right. Okay. So, all right. So apparently, and I don't really care, there was a bit of a battle the other day between two of the hosts, the aforementioned Sharon Osbourne.
Ozzy's wife.
Yes. Well, she's got her own position. And
yes, she does. She
doesn't have to be Ozzy's
She's
wife.
the brains of the operation, right?
Yeah. He should be known as
her
husband.
He is at this point. Go ahead.
So, the other woman, I don't know, is a black comedian who I don't know, and they got into it over Piers Morgan, who stormed off.
Right. Who, if we were in canceling culture sort of ways, I'd nominate him. He's a
He's vile.
He's vile. He's another Tucker Carlson-y vile guy.
Right.
With an English accent.
Yes, and he after the Meghan and what's his name thing with Oprah. I hate all this stuff, but
it's Meghan and Harry, dear sister. It's Meghan and Harry.
Okay, Meghan and Harry, blah blah blah, and then Piers Morgan on his British morning talk show with a bunch of other people as hosts as well, went after Meghan immediately, said he didn't believe a word she said, he never has liked her, blah, 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 and okay, fine. He ends up storming off the set, and he ends up either fired or quitting the show. So, and Sharon Osbourne is apparently a friend of his. So she had voiced some support. She said, I don't understand what he said that was racist.
Right.
And
she had a point. She said all he said is he didn't believe her. How is that racist?
Yeah, how's that racist? So whatever, back and forth. Osborne loses it, apparently says some words you can't say or the FCC will come for you. And it was bleeped. And now the response of whatever network that is, maybe CBS, was immediately the suit said, all right, well, the show is on hiatus. So there was no show the next day. There was no show today or whatever.
And they're gonna cancel those broads.
Well, if anyone gets, all I know is this super sensitivity and eggshell culture we got going is just
nonsense.
It drives me nuts. Let's get back to the more serious thing. Which is
but let's be. I mean, in your other example, that is, that's getting more play than I can stomach, and here I go talking about it, is Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson, who's also claiming to be canceled after he says, quote, and I'm going to get in trouble for saying this, quote, end quote. But I would have been afraid if it had been Black Lives Matter that stormed the Capitol. I wasn't afraid of those white folks beating up. They wouldn't.
That's right. That's right.
Okay, so
that's over. That's just stunningly racist.
That is stunningly racist. We can just say there's no other interpretation, and even he knew there was no other interpretation, or he wouldn't have said, "And I'm going to get in trouble for saying this." So he knew what he was saying was inappropriate, and he plants a grin on his face, and he says, through a bullhorn to his now openly racist supporters, I'm just going there.
But none of that works unless media pick up, amplify.
His voice has been on everybody's lips on like MSNBC and CNN hourly. So
drive
me nuts.
Canceled? I don't think so. In fact, it's quite the opposite. So you say these outrageous things and garner more and more attention. Now, interestingly, I'm just going to digress a little bit. I read something very interesting. I can't remember where today, but because of the resignation, that's not resignation, he's not running for office, of Senator Portman in Ohio, there's a scramble in that state, obviously, for Republicans and Democrats, to run for that seat. One of the people scrambling is a former state treasurer who I remember well because he was cut out of the same cloth as Stephen Miller. He even looked like Stephen Miller. And his name was Mandel. And oh my God, what a vile human being. So apparently he's back and intending to run. And he's saying every dog whistly thing he can. He's spreading the big lie. He's filled, with horse manure. And the Cleveland Plain Dealer, a rather large, reputable newspaper in the state, actually wrote an editorial in which they said they weren't falling for it, the bait, and they were not going to report any of Mandel's obvious lies. So they weren't going to write them and then say this was not true. They put him on notice that their reporters are there to inform the readers. They are not there to misinform readers and to spread and act as a spreader of false information.
So what can the reporter say? What's his name? Mandel spouted nothing but lies for 3 hours.
They'll cover the few lies, the things he said that you could say are true, like hello, it's a nice day, and then they're not going. And you know what? That is an extraordinarily courageous,
effective,
journalistic, and I don't know of any other paper that has done that. And the paper went on to say something like, look, if we haven't learned in the last 4 or 5 years that we've been played and used, and that we have a responsibility to reconfigure how we
report lies.
Yes. So I was thrilled, and I really I welcomed that. Now you can imagine how he's howling about being canceled now. So,
but he hasn't been canceled. He's entirely welcome to spout as many lies as he wants. He has a First Amendment right. What people fail to understand is that First Amendment right does not require that we listen or respond or even acknowledge that you exist. Go ahead and talk. It has nothing to do with the rest of us. That's your First Amendment right. That's the first thing. The second thing is it's only between you and your federal government. It's not between you and anybody else. So there's that.
But if media had operated under this kind of a template,
we might have been saved the attempted murder of our country. Yeah.
Right. Donald Trump would not be president.
That's right.
But it's probably a little. I really don't know if it'll go anywhere. But I wanted to note it, and I want to get back. Oh, I got to add one more thing to some of the stories that have been prompting my ire. This has to do with another publication that has, in fact, turned on its editor, its new editor. And this is a magazine that sort of during Trump's era, all of a sudden became a legitimate political kind of magazine.
Well, you can't be talking about Teen Vogue.
Yes, I am.
Okay, yeah, that political rag. Okay. Well, apparently.
No, but
apparently, right.
Excuse me. Something called Teen Vogue. So it's geared toward a younger crowd, and it's under the Vogue, which is a fashion magazine.
Right. Vogue. We all know what Vogue is, right?
And then I started reading in the last 4 years things that Teen Vogue was writing, and it was like, whoa, this is good stuff. This is interesting stuff. And one of the women in that publication, and it's young women that are in this publication, understandably, because they would know how to talk to their demographic. And one of them was recently elevated to be the new editor-in-chief. She's all of 27 years old.
Yep, but she's got a dark past.
It's now okay. So
that was just foreshadowing.
Well, okay. So of course, you dig when somebody rises, everyone starts digging. And in this case, all that they could find were a few tweets that she had sent a decade ago.
Right. So she's 16, 17 years old.
She was 16 years old. And she sent tweets that showed her at the time to harbor certain anti-Asian racist kind of feeling and some homophobic feeling. She has totally apologized, as you know, is the case that you have to do. And yet much of the staff is asking for her head. She has come back and said, I'm going to amplify the voices of Asian American women in the publication. I'm really going to bend over backwards. And I have learned and changed. Good God, if you don't change between the age of 17 and 27, then something's really wrong with you. If you don't grow, for that matter, if she doesn't continue to grow, and she's wiser and better at 37 and then 47. This whole thing that refuses to allow a person to have made true mistakes of judgment and even of thought, but to then
we are not. We aren't born perfect. And we can't expect anybody else to be born perfect. And this is how you learn. You fail, you goof, and then you do better. And anybody, I mean, the fault lies in not understanding that you goofed and trying to do better, not in the goof. And yeah, I mean, that's why, to get back to creep Cuomo, I mean, the man has been disliked forever. That was nothing new. That's why it was sort of surprising when he became so heroic 10 months ago.
Because everybody
remembered that everybody hated him up till then. So now it turns out that he's in trouble because he's got no friends.
Right. And all those people who
and I'm still waiting.
Harassed.
Right. I'm still waiting to hear something that rises to a level that and not to quote Ron Johnson, but I sure as hell hope I'm not going to get in trouble. I think there has to be nuance. If we are not going to discredit a whole movement of women that are tired of getting raped and murdered and can't walk home alone at night, like down a street in London, and having a guy put his arm around you and kiss you when you don't want him to.
Not the same, you think?
I don't think they're the same. I don't think the punishment should be the same. I don't think the conversation should be the same. And I think when it takes this turn, it's done to discredit the real issues that we have. And I wish that women could figure out a way to stand up for themselves and still get the change that they need.
Well, by a remark or a look or an errant hand on a shoulder or back rising to the level of sexual assault.
Or even harassment. I got to tell you, I don't even think it's harassment. If I can move and look at that man in the eye and say, change anything, either no or change the subject. I mean, I at the ripe old age of 60, I can't tell you how many nonverbal cues I have given to men from the time I was, 10.
Wait a minute, you're only 60?
No, no, but I can't remember in the first 9 years of any sexual come-ons. I'm giving myself for 10 years.
Okay, right.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying that women learn how to get themselves out of situations. And I understand that we're not supposed to have to do that, but we do. And at the age of 25 in New York, in politics, in a business situation, a young woman doesn't know how to extricate herself from a man whose arm is around her and stand her own, ain't going to last. And that's not fair. That's not right. I'm not saying men, creeps, cut it out. Just cut it out. But I am saying...
Man, listen. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
I am saying that women have to pick their battles. Well, take out the monsters, then we'll deal with the creeps.
Well, yes, it has to do with exactly. Could we triage this kind of issue if we put Al Franken in the same case as Harvey Weinstein, let's say, then all of the victims of Susan Williams.
I'm sorry, I had to let my dog in. I'm sorry. I'm usually upstairs, but because I was like, go ahead.
Okay. Sounded like you were doing the dishes. So, it diminishes. This is women diminishing other women's true assault and even egregious harassment. Now, the one thing that I've heard against Cuomo that in fact does rise to
the latest one
assault is the woman who says he put his hand under her blouse and groped her. Okay, if that's true, that is a sexual assault.
Right.
The other ones are, and here's the other thing. When did we become a country that accusers male or female, could come out of the woodwork
and end your life by making the accusation, right?
And then the person who they're accusing is not given due process, is then, with the accusations, assumed guilty. I mean, I just don't understand. If he committed crimes, let's find out. There is an investigation going on. What is this rush to bypass all of the, I just don't understand.
I don't understand either, but
it's a mob mentality, and it's a take him down, he's wounded, this son of a bitch who we've all hated. Very effective governor, but a son of a bitch.
Right, right.
Blood in the water, let's take him down. No, because you're harming the system of fairness in the judicial system, which suggests that somebody should have a friggin' trial.
Yeah, for example, so here I am reading this stuff, and I can't help it. I read it with a lawyer's brain. And when the accuser, and I'm sure she felt, that she was in a position where she couldn't do anything about it, I guess, but she's at a wedding. She's at a social occasion. And I guess her boss, the head of the state walks up to her. She knows him. He knows her. At a social event, puts his arm around her back. She's wearing a low-cut dress. He didn't wear it's not her fault. It's just that if he puts her arm around her back, yes, his suited arm is on her bare skin, and then he kisses her. And then somebody, finding it so horrifying at a wedding, takes a picture of it so she has proof. Well, I've got you on the stand, and I'm thinking, well, that's what people do at weddings.
Yeah. They
walk up to you, they put their arm around you, they say, hi, how good to see you. They give you a kiss on the cheek. A photographer comes up and he goes, oh, that's a nice picture. He takes a picture of it, and there you are. I'm sorry. But
okay, let me just acknowledge that there is a generational thing here. Susan and I and other people, I would think above the age of 50, I'm not sure, are the ones who are saying to the younger women, guys, Jesus, will you get some, it makes women seem so fucking fragile. Oh, he put his hand and I felt so uncomfortable. Well, fine, then deal with it, but let's not make a federal case out of it because it doesn't rise to that level. Guess what? In life, you feel uncomfortable a lot. That's because it's life. It's not meant to be some wondrous thing where you don't end up ever being uncomfortable or feeling embarrassed or but for young women, it's assault.
Yeah, here's what you do. If someone is making you feel uncomfortable, you tell them, you're making me feel uncomfortable. Cut it out. And guess what you're telling them is going to do? It's going to make them feel uncomfortable. So who's right and who's wrong? That's life.
Yeah.
That's how we learn. And women, we do have to learn how to, cute and sweet and nice don't work if you want to grow up and be in the real world. Just be you. You don't have to be a pleaser. You don't have to be prettier than the next girl. I would suggest you work on your brain and maybe your confidence about being able to take care of yourself. And if you have those things, then you're more willing to stand up for yourself. And
the dangerous thing of this is
we live in a culture where none of that exists.
We live in a culture in which, and it is on our side of the equation, if we're in the political spectrum, that we are creating a kind of orthodoxy where this is what you can do, this is what you can never do, this is what you can say, this is what you can never say. And guys, I don't sign on to any orthodoxy. Orthodoxies to me are suffocating, and they prevent people from living their lives, using their critical capacity to make their way through experience and reality. And damn it, I am so sick of this. Cuomo, as Susan and I both said, is a first-class jerk. Why? There have never been first-class jerks as governors, as presidents. And speaking of presidents,
JFK, there you go.
Well,
yeah, everybody adores him.
Just think of the last one.
Oh, Trump.
Trump.
I try not to think of him.
I mean, now this is a true sexual assaulter. This is in every way somebody who, yes, rises to a level that one can see. I mean, he triggered half a nation, for God's sake. But people are imperfect as hell. And men and women who hold power are often not the nicest people.
No, and women, and I've been wanting to say this all along. Women can be in other spaces uncomfortably equally with men, and I'll use these huggers, these women that just insist on hugging everybody, and if you say I don't, no, well, people don't like that. I mean, I think we all ought to just try and say it's not about what I like to do; it's about what the person in front of me might like.
Yeah, but that suggests a nation filled with empathetic people who are not self-centered, and we live in a nation.
But to me, it suggests that if I'm a hugger, I just say, "I'm a hugger. Can I hug you?" And then the person either says, "Sure," or "No."
Well, I
have a daughter-in-law that doesn't necessarily like to be grabbed and hugged by strangers, and one of the nicer things that I ever saw was my son-in-law's mother picking up on that, and she is a hugger, and she said to my daughter-in-law, "May I hug you?" Which, of course, just made my daughter-in-law, very pleased to be acknowledged, and in fact, she said, "Sure."
So, okay, if Cuomo physically assaulted a woman,
there is a law for that, and he should be punished.
And you gotta let this stuff run its course. The mob will take this into our hands, and
all this you can't govern. They say you can't govern. Well, he can't govern because they won't shut up and let him.
It shows a certain level of extreme cowardice on the part of other Democrats who figure that this is where most people might be and this is what they have to do or they're going to be in trouble. There's a lot.
Biden didn't, by the way. Biden did not.
Biden hasn't and Pelosi hasn't. They both said, could we just let this
play out?
I mean, there's a thing called due process. And if his behavior is found to have been not criminal, but offensive, then the voters will take him down the next time around, if or not. We have things in place. He's not the king who is reachable. And this is something new. The leftist, wokist, feminist mob. I don't care whose mob it is. It can be the Proud Boys or the leftist feminist mob. I hate them all because people stop thinking.
Listen, and it's also
they just react.
It's also just sort of ridiculous not to admit that there was this handbook somewhere that says that when men get enough money and powerful, they are allowed to do whatever they want. because they seemingly have gotten away with it. Politicians, we can go down the list of presidents, and we can list their sexual peccadillos. We know them. That is, and to be shocked and horrified to find out that men in positions of power and parenthetically women in positions of power have been acting according to that handbook should be hardly surprising. So here's what we need to do. We ought to say, new rule. Really, new rule. It's not going to be like that anymore. If you don't want to, just keep your hands to yourself. It's not that hard. New rule.
Well, I think it obviously is.
Well, but I think what we're uncovering is old bad behaviors, and it's just at some point you can't throw out a whole generation of males that have been raised that boys will be boys, and you get what you can take, and the more ambitious you are and the more you can get, the more you get to grab. I mean, those have been the unofficial rules, and you can pretend like that's not true, but it is true. And I think the best way to say it is new rule, both sides.
Okay, we've got a caller. Go ahead.
This is Bob.
Hello?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hi. This is Father Joseph. I think that I like the new rule idea there. I think that Democrats, we can fall into the same trap that the more conservative folks do when we say, okay, well, yeah, maybe this person's doing things they shouldn't do, but they support things we like, so we are going to give them a pass. I think we did it with Clinton.
Yes.
I think, look, this thing goes back to what? Thomas Jefferson? I mean, he's got he had a woman in a secret room. I mean, for Pete's sake, I think that we have to be careful on this in the sense that I like the due process. I think that's fair, but we can't make excuses. And I think because then I think we fall in the same trap as that we would gleefully, to our discredit, accuse the other side of doing.
Yeah.
Fair enough?
Well, and Clinton, yes, and Clinton is an interesting that you bring him up. Because, I stood with him because I liked his politics and I liked him. And now with the time, having passed, I am ashamed of standing with him. And I also see that a lot of his politics were a bunch of garbage too, and it caused a lot of trouble. So
Sure.
I was wrong.
Yeah.
I was wrong.
In the South, they had a phrase they would use to excuse behavior, and this person is sort of set in their ways, and so you need to understand, like you can't use that. I mean, there are boundaries, and we gotta do better. We all have to do better. That's what I would say.
Right. Okay. No one's going to argue with you on that. Thank you. Okay. Goodbye.
I was just going to say, from Father Joseph's mouth to God's ear.
Yeah. Well,
we all do have to do better, but mostly, I am frightened by. It's an old tactic. You either take things to such an extreme that you kill them. So that the perfect is the enemy of getting anything done of good. And I really, we have to remember that we have processes. We have to try and use the proper channels to handle the proper complaint. And I think these women would say that they complained about Cuomo for a long time and nothing happened. But who knows?
Well, we don't know that.
No.
Well, one woman did go through the process and, yes, eventually was transferred to another part of the Capitol. But it's I don't know. There's a system in place. I don't like pitchforks and torches in the streets because of accusations. And I also don't like this bull that if a woman says it, it's got to be true.
No, because we there have been such horrifying examples of it not being true over these last few years.
Women are humans. They lie. They're wonderful. They're horrible. They lie. I mean, come on. Anytime somebody says all women should be believed, that is absurd. It is absurd. It lets us all off the hook of having to think. It does that black and white thing. What does that say? Women tell the truth, men are liars? That's nonsense. God, I'm so sick of living in this stupid, knee-jerk, trigger-happy, unthinking, critical thought out the window country. It's driving me crazy. You drive me crazy, you lefties. And you're always giving such wondrous gifts to the horror on the other side. They run with this stuff because it resonates with people and it turns them off to our party. Democrats lose a lot of people with this BS. Follow the rules. We've got systems in place to deal with this. An accusation gets made, you could take every man down in the world if a woman is believed. God damn it. I'm sorry, guys, but really. All right. If we haven't annoyed everybody yet, can I bring up another issue? Susan? Is she not there?
Oh,
Susan
sorry. Can you hear me?
No. What'd you do?
It was on mute because there was noise here, and I thought I unmuted it, but I didn't. Sorry. It's
okay. All right. Okay. I want to go somewhere else that I'm struggling, and I want Susan to help me because on issues of trans sexuality, I have often.
That's where I was going. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Why were you going there?
Because that's what I was reading when I was late calling in.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, so one of the things the Republicans are doing is, of course, going after trans people, but the way they found to do it, it's so clearly cynical Republican operatives. They've all of a sudden become champions of women's sports. Now, women's sports would not exist but for Democrats. I mean, the whole, there were no women.
No, and we had to force parity, and we still don't have it.
So it was our side, our more left politics, that forced all of these title this is and title that required schools to create and have and fund women's sports. I mean, when I went to school, I don't know if Susan had gotten any better in the 3 years after, there were literally no women's sports in my high school.
I think girls ran track.
No, not mine. If you open, I still have my yearbook.
No, I think you're right. There were no girls. No, we were cheerleaders.
There was
the girls' sport was cheerleading, which meant that 10 girls.
So that, that's the reality. It because of liberal politics, that was changed. Now we have Republicans who I'm sure were all against those changes, saying that, and trying to pass legislation all over the place. The Mississippi governor is about to sign a piece of legislation. Idaho already has it. It is a law that prevents a transgender woman from participating in women's sports. And that is what the Mississippi governor is about to sign. The bill in Mississippi would require public schools and universities to have athletes compete according to their sex assigned at birth. Okay? Now, here's the
never mind if the doctors were wrong, which, by the way, they frequently are.
Yeah, but, well, let's just say a child born with all the male paraphernalia, and that child then later decides that
realizes
he is a she.
Right.
Yeah, he somehow got the wrong body when they were getting passed out.
There's more nefarious laws than that. There's more nefarious laws than that, though. Yeah.
Here's what I want to know, because I'm thinking that this is the kind of thing, again, that hurts Democrats, because it sounds like there is some reason for it. So that if people who were born male and went through puberty and then made the change, they could well have the kind of muscle mass and even some more testosterone, even if it's being suppressed, that would have given them and would give them an advantage over the women they're competing against who were born female.
Right, these hordes of women. Can I just?
Okay, so I just want to know if there is any. Yeah.
Let me just.
A legitimate?
No, let me just interrupt. Let me just rephrase this. Why do we have classes of women?
What do you mean classes of women?
Well, you are describing a woman as a trans woman. The point of being trans is that you don't get stuck in the transition. This is a woman. And our insistence on separating her is the beginning of the problem. It's our brain's insistence to accept what the woman standing in front of you is saying. I am a woman. I don't need your effing adjective at the front of it. I am a woman. Deal with it. Now, if these hordes of women that have maybe a little bit more testosterone, and by the way, regular women sometimes have more testosterone than they should, or lesser estrogen than they should, and some women are highly more muscular than other women. This is just bull. So we'll start with that, but I'm going to tell you that the problem is your adjective. A woman is a woman is a woman. That's the point. That's where that person is trying to go. Well, and it's the likes of us that won't let her. Or what you saying, Lynn, is that she can do it everywhere she wants to, but not there.
No, I'm not saying anything. I'm saying I'm wondering. I do not have a point of view on this.
Okay, well, let me say that the people that don't approve of the people that don't approve of this, their mind is not going to be changed one way or the other. The people that might want to learn somewhat about this, there is a wonderful article. I don't know, because I read everything online. Online today, I think in the Washington Post, is an article about a kid that is growing up about 5 miles from where I raised my family in Kirkwood, Missouri. It's a suburb of St. Louis. And she is trans and taking hormones. And there are many areas of the story, but what's happening in Missouri right now is there's a law in the legislature that would make it illegal for her to have the right to take the hormones that are allowing her to make this transition.
So she's a minor.
She's 14,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the legal age of consent.
That would make it, even with her parents' consent, to take.
Even with her parents' consent, illegal.
Well, that's ridiculous.
And what the story goes on to talk about is, I'm going to tell you just this little part so that you can understand. This is a human being. This is a human being that now is in remote schooling, and that because they are Zooming and cameras are off most of the time, not to be distracting, it's just the teacher, and voices are muted most of the time. But because she did not decide to come out to her parents, and they didn't get to the point where they decided to do the hormones until she had started puberty, and her voice has deepened. And she lives in total dread of having to give her report camera off when all they will hear is her male voice and not see her. And it's traumatizing, it's torturing. And I think if we could just try for a second to figure out what it felt to live on one of these children's bodies, knowing who they are, how totally brave they have to be to live their truth. And they're facing a world of people that, go from, not understanding but being willing to try. That's about as good as they get, to downright hostile and wanting to get rid of them and torture them, maybe kill them.
Well, I do want to say that more American states have passed laws that allow athletes in high school or younger to compete on teams that match their gender identity. So more states have laws that go the other way.
And they should.
I want you to say, yeah, but
maybe we should let boys and girls compete against each other according to their abilities. We as a culture have made up the rules of sport. One of the things that we have to sit back and think about is how culture really defines every aspect of our points of view. From why are male sports more fun to watch, Lynn?
Because we were told.
Okay, so you're answering that question. The question should be, are male sports more fun to watch?
Well, I don't know. Some are, simply by virtue of the fact that that in some sports males are faster, let's say. I don't know. Generally not. I think more and more people are loving women's basketball. The fact that the
women's soccer, women's track
had its 25th, women's soccer, women's track. No, of course not. But we have been used to watching men. That is true. And girls on the sidelines cheerleading. That
looking
is true.
Pretty, flashing some boob and thigh and ass. Speaking of which, did you watch the Grammys?
Yeah, I knew that's where you were going. And no, we already talked about it. And a lot of these singers, and we talked about this yesterday, one of our callers, Henry, brought it up. They're not just singers. It's more dancing, and it's more naked kind of dancing. And none of the men performers that I saw were in thongs, twerking.
It brought me back to my days of going to Green Bay strip joints when.
Yeah, okay. Women, it is. It looks like, exactly. So a woman singer has to be able to sing, but mostly she has to be able to expose her ass and shove it in your face. I don't.
Well, that's one style. That is one style. I mean, there are other styles, and I've actually been grappling with this because I do feel that maybe it's just me being old and bah humbuggy and remembering that once you had to sneak into a place and see women do things like that, and now it's on primetime television. And so I checked with my son, and he said, no, my 6-year-old grandson ran in right as whoever, Cardi B or somebody, was out there, and he sort of swooped him up and took him into bed.
Well, yeah, it's overtly sexual, and it's not for children to see.
Not for children.
And when you think of the impact on little girls of what they're seeing as what women are, as opposed to what male entertainers are, they're fully clothed. The women are half naked. Did I not see what I saw?
You did see what you saw. I want to add that I thought the majority of the music was really good, and I didn't know who I was listening to, but of the time. But I really enjoyed the hell out of that show, so I want to say that.
Well, I'd always watch it because I want to at least know sort of what the contemporary music is. And you're right, I enjoyed a lot of it. Some of it, no, but most of it, yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
but this dancing stuff and the nakedness, so off-putting.
Well, that's what I thought was funny. I thoroughly enjoyed every genre that was out there, but I just got my old lady undies in a bundle over the strip teases on the stage. Even though Lupa, what's her name? The
Lupa Duo.
Yeah, how am I supposed to remember these names? Anyway, she who started out fully dressed and ended up in pink and ended up fully undressed in pink. I was dancing with her. And I even got the dance by the end. I was having the best time. And then I read the review the next day, and she was specifically mentioned as the person that got even the couch potatoes couch dancing. So I thought that was funny.
No, this couch potato did not dance. I kept thinking, wow. At first, because they said she was from Kosovo. And I thought, wow, well, I wonder if she's Muslim.
No.
Because no.
Because she was so covered up.
She was totally covered up. She had a big, long thing on. She was covered. And I thought, maybe she's a Muslim. Wouldn't this be interesting? This Kosovo refugee whose parents took her to Britain.
Doing disco dance music. Right.
This and that. And then, things started dropping.
Well, anyway.
And I thought, guess not Muslim.
No, but okay, there is a reason that my mind went to this. And it's more about our cultural view. And those women that we are sitting here tutting about are telling us, you've been making us feel bad about our bodies forever. And we don't feel bad about them. We don't feel bad about them. We don't feel bad about what they do. We don't think there's anything wrong with it. It's you guys that are putting all of this energy into being horrified. Why don't you just enjoy it?
Because so much because
women get raped.
It's sexual stimulation. I mean, it is.
Yeah, because women get raped. I know.
It's not. It's sexually stimulating. And I am so old-fashioned. I believe sex should be private. The actual act. And man, they're almost doing the act. The choreography is.
The choreography is everything but. Yes.
So, no, I'm glad you're comfortable in your body, but what you're doing to young girls is the same thing that men did to my generation, which is say to them,
This is what you are.
Your body is this sexual show. Look at this. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm for bringing back clothed singers. Jesus. Can't take it.
Well, it's just, I am feeling lately that what's holding us all back is this skein, this piece of webbing that we are all trapped inside of us called our cultural memory. And it's just every time you try and go out in one direction or go out in another direction, that netting is holding you in because there's so many different ways that it's been stitched into us, who each of us are and how each of us are to behave in whatever role we've been placed. And for many of us that just live in the mainstream, it just doesn't matter. But if you are off just an inch, either way, you're living with that plastic in your skin all the time. You know, I wish we could figure out a way to not be so knee-jerky about.
But what you're talking about is you wish that human nature was not what it is. So go on wishing.
Well, I wish that we could broaden our cultural outlook. That's what I wish.
But we're not. We're
going the opposite way.
We're going in the opposite direction. So, Father Joseph has written back a radical thought. Susan, he's in agreement with you again. If we have women in combat, going to Army Ranger School, etc., because they are the best people for those jobs who meet the physical qualifications, then we should take the same approach to sports. Eliminate gender-specific sports. If you can play, you play.
Sort of how I feel about it. And have different levels of competition.
Different levels, because women will not be able to compete at the highest levels in sports where male physiognomy is a true handicap for the women. I mean, there's just no way.
So what you're talking about American football, basically, and
no, I'm talking also about speed. I'm talking about strength. So I'm talking about shot put, and I'm talking about javelin throwing, and I'm talking about, if you look at the best women and the best men, I think in a ton of sports, the women would not.
Well, but let's look at wrestling. Let's look at a sport like wrestling and boxing where they do it by weight. I'm not so sure that a woman wrestler can't compete weight-wise against a male wrestler.
Well, some could, but in general, men have more muscle mass. Their upper bodies are constructed differently, and there's more muscle mass behind each punch. I think it's silly not to think that the gender neutrality would work in some sports, but not in others.
Well, I'll agree with that.
There's plenty of women who could, take down plenty of men. There's no doubt about that either.
We're back to Billie Jean King and what's his name?
Well. But
what was his name? Now there's a victory for you.
No, I once played a game of ping pong with him.
Yeah,
Bobby.
Okay. Billie Jean King rolls right off the tongue, and the creep,
Bobby. Somebody give it to me. Come on. Somebody give it to me. Here's something funny. Oh, no, we're out of time. Jesus, I just looked at the clock. What the hell?
Oh, we were talking. See, I was reading. This is what happens.
You're reading, I'm talking. I got to go.
Okay,
So
me
you.
too.
Okay, guys, we'll do this again tomorrow. Babble, babble, babble. Honest to Pete. Okay, see you
Bye.
tomorrow.
Bye.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.